Good evening. I'm Ricky Harrington, Chairman of the CDC Board. I want to welcome you all to the Southwestern Vermont Regional Technical School District Board meeting. First thing on our agenda is public comments. Any public comments? Seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. Minutes from the RGB full board meeting, March 20th, 2017. May I have a motion?
I'll second it.
Moved by Fran Kinney, seconded by Liam Johnson. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand. Unanimous. Payroll warrants. Number 1037, number 22, number 1040, number 23.
So moved.
I'll second that too.
Francis Kinney made the motion, Liam Johnson seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, may I see your right hand if you're in favor, please? I think it's unanimous. Vendor warrants, number 1038, 1039, and 1041.
Second.
Motion by Fran Kinney, second by Jessica Gully. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. That's unanimous. You know, these glasses work pretty good. A lot better without them. Cash flow statements are in the your minutes. It's just read them and see if there's anything that disturbs you. If it doesn't, we will move on. Revenue and expenses also is there with the cash flow. Committee reports, joint education, facilities, and finance. We met April 13th, and did we make Ed the chairman?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, of education, yes, he's the chair.
Nobody volunteers. We have to make somebody, so we made him the chair.
He's done it before, so he has.
Yeah, and I thought you guys liked me.
There you go. You got anything to talk about, Ed?
Report on the Education Committee.
Education, facilities,
Yeah, we
finance?
essentially discussed the fact that, one, we're required to have an adult education program, and that's required by the state. And our current structure of dividing up the work between the administrators and the business manager and the guidance counselor is working, but it isn't working in the context of there isn't enough hours in a day for the people to accomplish everything that needs to be accomplished for adult ed. And the superintendent suggested that we continue on the way we are at the moment until we have time to hash out more ideas on rebuilding and restructuring the adult ed program. Subsequent to all that, I had a conversation with a representative from the Vermont Department of Labor, and it was suggested that, one, we should probably form an adult education committee made up with representatives from manufacturing here in Bennington County, because they can give us input on what they think would be useful in their to them. And it was also suggested that since we have a lot of online courses through Education to Go, that we should become a testing center for people taking those courses so that they could become certified in the courses that they've taken. And that's about the limit of where we are at the moment.
Do you mind if I add?
Yes, add.
So at the joint meeting that we had, it was recommended and discussed at the board, kind of asked each committee member's input on adult education, its current state, what we have been doing, what we're currently doing, and what we should or shouldn't be doing going forward in this. I think Ed is right on that we've determined that there isn't enough time in the day with the current staffing to grow the program per se. I had just before our meeting tonight, I had a long conversation with Melanie Letourneau at the Department of Labor. About an hour, we spoke on the phone today to talk about, things that we do really well, and that we should be focusing, and this is out of our committee meeting, focusing on one or two things and doing them really well, rather than having, for example, 100 offerings and not doing them as best as we can. You know, one of the things we also talked about is education, learning has changed. Our daytime environment has changed to more, you know, we go out and teach classes, there's online components, there's all sorts of things. We haven't necessarily promoted that with adult education. We have a lot on Ed2Go. Look at that, as we can certainly market that a little different than we are now. Ed2Go, there are a lot of courses on there. There's certificate programs available that don't require the overhead that we have here right now. So one of the examples the board would like to see, the committee wants to see, is we're really close to getting a CDL program in place. Will it happen this school year, at the end of the school year? Probably not. Maybe summer, fall at the latest. We're this close to having that done. And, you know, the committee really wants to see that go through and have that offering. It's something the Department of Labor has said that we can really use. And, you know, Meg's worked hard at making sure that happens, but there's some roadblocks in place that we're working to work through. Sometimes it just takes, you know, time to do that. And so my feeling from the Education Committee was that we're really going to kind of take a pause, if you will, on adult education, form this committee that perhaps is part of the board, community representatives, and see, you know, take a look at what we offer for adult ed. So it's really pausing for a year, another year, if you will, letting us run the CDL one semester, perhaps LNA the other, or not. I mean, we haven't determined, that hasn't been determined yet. But it's the goal would be not to grow or try to expand adult education for the following school year. It would be actually it would be shrinking it, and even not even maintaining it, it would be shrinking it to one or two solid offerings, as well as perhaps still customized training on demand. If a manufacturing industry needs a class, someone else wants to propose a class to teach, well, it's great, we'll help facilitate that and focus on areas that we don't focus on currently. I'll give you an example. On Ed2Go, there's a certificate program for home inspector. I'm just throwing it out there that, you know, we haven't marketed that as anything other than we have some online courses. So I think there's more that we can do in terms of that, but it's taken us a year to get this far to really see where we're at and what the community needs. And that's kind of, I think, it's kind of where we're at with the Education Committee. If I missed something, Ed?
No, it's more detail than I provided. But you had a more recent conversation.
Very recent, about 2 hours ago. Jessica.
So to summarize, a new committee is going to be established to restructure adult ed.
Perhaps that's the outcome of the committee, but a committee to be formed of community members and the board to take a look at adult education and perhaps not necessarily what we offer, but how we offer it and how we might be able to partner with different institutions in the community, both here in Bennington, Arlington, Manchester. I mean, we serve the whole county, and giving the committee really a year to look at that, and giving us more time to have a look at the programming. You know,
So it's a separate entity from the Education Facilities Committee.
yes, it would be.
Okay.
Sure. Or it might be some of the same people, but
Same people, so.
Right.
Subcommittee.
Okay, okay, thank you.
yeah.
Anything else, Ed?
No,
We also had a meeting with the policy tonight. I'm sorry.
Ed's talked out.
Oh, you talked, okay. Tonight at 5:30, and we have I'd like to say a new chairman, but I guess he's the same old one we're going to use over and over again.
Agree from it. Policy committee met today for the first time, and we had a general discussion to an introduction to learn something about all of its members along that line and share. We had one new member come in, and then we had elected a chair. And I was re-elected again as the chair of this committee. And then we discussed the logistics of the flow and of policy committee, how we do business at the meeting in terms of the board's main responsibility is to develop the policy and have the administrative regs developed by administrators or work with administrators to be attached along with the policy piece and posted together online so that we can have it together. So we also talked about our meeting time, and we wanted to meet prior to this meeting, and we needed about an hour per time, so we decided to go with a 5 o'clock policy meeting time every third Monday. If we got a problem, we'll just change it along that line, but that's when we'll meet. So that's basically what we did today, is set the groundwork and get ready for our next meeting.
The policy committee has no relationship with the SBSU policy committee?
No relation? Well, we...
I mean, it's not just one committee for everybody like there is for negotiations?
No, it used to
For
be,
contract?
we used to have one policy committee for everybody when we were joint with the CDC and the SBSU. What happened is when we split off, there were certain things that were specifically to the CD Career Development Center, and a lot of other policies and things had nothing to do with this part, and so we thought best to form our own. So we take the same policy, we use the same numbering type of system, except for we put a C on it for the Career Development Center along that line. So that if a parent has a student that's at Mount Anthony or somewhere else, they're looking at a number, and then that same policy will be over here in this building, but with a number, will be numbers and a C, a letter behind it. So we'll be providing the same type of information, the same format, so that everybody will be able to go right out and find it and follow it. And pretty both, I chair both committees now, and have been for a while, and Bruce works, a person from the administration here at the CDC, also sits on that board as well. So we share a lot of things back and forth, or we send stuff up, or we bring stuff back, we take stuff from the state and from the community, and vice versa, and massage it into the policies.
Thank you.
Had a great turnout. A lot of people joined us. Okay, move on to action items. We have in our packets having to do with resignation and field trips and a reduction in office position. You care to elaborate a little bit, Mike? For us?
In your packet, we have a hard copy in your Dropbox. There are two resignations or retirements, however you want to consider them, from our office. Cheryl Blair, who has been our student services and data clerk. Cheryl has been here for over 10 years in the office, and she has a letter in here that she expects to be her last day of June 23rd. I'm looking forward to being a stay-at-home grandmother after all the years working here at the CDC. So we want to wish Cheryl well. Cheryl's been a great support in our office and has really helped with our database, manages our student data, passes to kids coming in and out, dealing with parents, etc. So it's certainly a position we're going to replace, and we have to have it. We wish Cheryl well in her retirement. The other letter in here of resignation is from Tom Pasternak. Tom is currently our school guidance coordinator. This is the end of Tom's second year. Tom will not be returning next year to the CDC. He's going to be seeking other ventures outside of the time here. In his letter, he said this was not an easy decision to make. The past 2 years have been very rewarding. He's enjoyed working for the school district, and he appreciates the experiences that he has had in terms of career, professional development, and professionalism here at the CDC. You also see his posting for the position of school guidance coordinator fairly soon. So those are the two letters of resignation.
Do we need a motion to accept their resignations?
Second.
Thank you, Fran. Thank you, Leanne. Any other further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand, please. Thank you, it's unanimous.
Next action item is the field trip in your packet for Human Services to Boston, Massachusetts. This is I won't say a standard trip, but they tend to go every year to Boston and do some college visits and whatnot. So the information is in your Dropbox. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer it for you.
Is that the only field trip?
It's the only field trip.
Don't we have students going to Skills USA?
We do have students going to the Skills USA national competition. However, that is not until the end of June.
Okay.
And so actually the field trip request just came in today, but it won't come to the board until May 15th. We have to still get pricing for airfare, or approximate pricing for airfare, number of people that are going, commitment from students, information from the business office of how we're paying for the trip, all those types of things. So that'll come to the board for the May 15th meeting.
Just as long as nobody gets dragged off the flight or, threatens unattended or anything.
I'll try and make sure that doesn't happen.
Those are students that won a gold medal at the state level?
Yes, I'm going to talk about them tonight in my superintendent's
Okay, yeah.
report, yeah.
Could I have a motion to accept the field trip?
So moved.
It's been
Mike,
made motion by Fran, seconded by Leon. Any discussion?
I just want to make sure you let the students and teachers know we're really proud of the work they've been doing. I read in the paper while I was away about one of the Doucette there kid won the gold medal and he's going on and stuff. That's really a feather in the cap of the CDC. They're competing against other groups,
Yes.
their peers, and they're still coming out on top, which is really a good job.
Yeah, we're very proud of them. Thank you, Ken.
Okay, all in favor, please raise your right hand. I think it's unanimous.
The next action item, under Article 2.1D of the ESP's contract, as part of putting a pause on adult education for at least next school year, taking a look at what we're doing or not doing for adult education. There is a position in the office, an assistant to the assistant director to adult ed. And as part of this reorganization, in this year, we've realized that in my opinion, the position isn't needed going forward. So I'm just bringing that to you. Under Article 2.1, the board has the authority to set the number of positions and whatnot for the paras. And that position is under the para contract. And so this board has to take action on that. I cannot do that on my own. It has to be recommended to this board and voted on.
I'll move it.
Second. I mean, there's a lot in the article. There's a certain, you would read in a certain section if I'll second it.
There is not a specific article in the ESP contract relating to reduction in force or positions.
We were trying to best put it on the agenda.
Be as
so that
transparent
it
as
was-
possible.
Right.
It talks about the board's prerogative of positions in the district. That is the article that most closely relates to positions and hours and duties and times and things like that. I can get it here for you, Leon, if you just want a second.
Want to second it and we can finish the discussion?
Oh, yeah, I did.
Okay.
Second, so.
Fran Kinney made the motion for the reduction. Leon seconded it. Discussion.
Mike, I
Yes.
remember Marie Pierre desperately needed this assistant, and obviously it's not needed now, but how difficult is it going to be, hypothetically speaking, a year from now? We're moving and shaking, and help is needed again.
I think that depends on what adult ed looks like in the future. At the time that the position was asked for, it was, I believe that it was needed. And, part of what this year for us is taking a look at adult education and actually having our hands on it. Again, I don't feel the position is currently needed. Will be needed in the future? I don't know. Unless adult ed grows leaps and bounds, I don't see it. I don't see the position needing to be there. We'll have 2 full-time office staff. We will have, one's just retired, but we will have. And I think that we can handle that. And I know that you were on the board this time last year, but I brought the proposal to the board to let us take a look at adult ed for the year and all of its operations and see what we thought of it and what we could do or couldn't do. And part of this analysis is just determine that position isn't needed.
So are we just voting today to say it's not needed for the next fiscal year, or are we saying it's never needed again?
You could always bring a position back. I could recommend to bring a position, any position back, or create even a new position that, you know, didn't have that title or had different duties, and the board could certainly approve that. But you would be eliminating the current position, you know, effective July 1st, June 30th. You know, the individual would finish out their contract for the school year, and then the position would be closed, basically, until I made a recommendation that we either replace the person, we make a new position, something along those lines.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does,
Okay.
thank you.
Since we also have a resignation, could that person move into?
Not necessarily. There are provisions in the contract that talk about, Steph, can you help me out with, I don't have it right in front of me.
I mean, there are provisions in the contract that allow for them to have the opportunity if they have the skill set to do the job that.
To apply for that position?
Right, and that, well, if they have the skill set, they would be first on the list, you know, in order to.
Skill set and ability.
Right.
Why are we speaking in terms of of suspending adult ed for a year as opposed to not trying to bring back part of it sooner in a different configuration?
Guess I'm not quite sure what,
Well,
I didn't get the idea that we're suspending. I think that I got the sense that it was more, they were going to focus on 2 or 3 programs, get those started, and get some input from the community
Okay.
at the same time.
right, it wasn't that we're suspending an adult ed,
okay,
no.
I
no.
misunderstood
Right.
something that was
Stay
said.
stabilizing, if you would, and
Okay.
focusing on 1 or 2 strong programs.
That's where I thought we were going.
Right.
And are we going to hire a director?
No, that's not the recommendation this time. We continue with the current staffing that the current administrative staffing that you already have in place.
With the reduced offerings, they should be able to handle
To
it,
handle
but
it.
we can't go forward and rebuild or create a new offerings with the current staffing.
I mean, we might find, and I can't predict this or I'd play the lottery, we might find that really focusing on the online courses that we already have and using those certificate programs, we might find that that's the bread and butter, and we're going to go all out with that, and that's not going to necessarily require the overhead, you know, to put out 100 courses, if you will, with an assistant and those types of things. We might be able to do it just as efficient in a different manner. I mean, that's how I'm looking at it. Is
And also looking at other partnerships with people that are already offering.
right, and that's part of what this committee that, you know, we want to form to help give input into what we're doing. I think, you know, a year's time has given us some good insight. We don't have the exact picture, but we have a pretty good idea of what it takes and what it doesn't take. You know, Meg, I mean, you know.
And I think, you know, looking at working with area businesses to see what they need and developing classes around what their organization needs. For example, you know, SVSU wants to do an Excel for Educators course next school year. You know, it would be my recommendation that we continue to do that. The CDL course, I'm trying to arrange a meeting between the company that we were going to use, myself and Dave Dents, because of information that the Vermont Department of Motor Vehicles shared. So I think if we could focus on the Ed2Go online courses, the CDL, as well as talking with area businesses around what do they need. I think there would be a higher quality. Right now, I think the offerings are enrichment, and there's too many, you know. I just think we should build some really strong programming and then see how we can collaborate with community members. You know, that there are a lot of opportunities in this community for adults. whether it's through the tutorial center or CCB or us. So I think we need to take a look at not competing with them and seeing what we do best, I guess.
Yeah, I think in talking today with Melanie from the Department of Labor was very helpful for me before our meeting about that. I want to focus. We do have a lot of strengths here at the center, both for our daytime programs and adult education, and there's no failures here. This is just taking a look at how we do business. No different than we've done with other programs here at the center. I can think of cosmetology as the example. We looked at what's wrong. Why aren't there students in this program? Or we have 2 teachers, not many kids, no one's finishing, or very few people are finishing. What's the deal? And we took a holistic look at it and realized it was a scheduling issue. That the number of hours needed, it was just not doable. And lo and behold, here we are. Well, it's 2 years later now, and there's no room. The program's full. For all intents and purposes, it's full, and we can't fit more kids in the door. And that's what we want. And so that was a programming change. It was a scheduling issue that we identified. We changed it. It's 1 teacher now. It has been for the last 2 years, and now it's working. And so that's an example of just taking a look at their operations. And I would equate to we're doing the same thing with adult education. Really no different. Just analyzing it a little bit further. I hope that answers the question. Or tries to anyway. So I think there's a motion on the
There's a
table.
motion, there's a second, and we're discussing. Any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please raise your right hand. It's unanimous. I think it's up to you.
All right, so superintendent's report. So I want to highlight tonight a couple things. Number one, this is our off meeting. We normally would have met the 3rd Monday of the month, but it was school vacation. The board chose to meet tonight. We're double booked tonight, so I know that CAT TV is, I think they're over at the Firehouse for the Bennington Select Board tonight. The CDC is on the agenda for the Select Board as well tonight with our partnership for Habitat. So our building trades instructor and representative from Habitat are presenting tonight right about now on our project over on North Branch Street. So you have to pay, tune in to see that another time. So that's going on right now at the Firehouse. If you haven't had a chance to drive by the North Branch Street site, the house is coming together fairly quickly. Of course, the shell goes up quick and the rest takes a little bit of time, but they're moving along with it quite well. I wanted to focus tonight on our CTSOs, and Ken alluded to it, and so did Ed. This springtime is a lot of competitions in Vermont, both in a lot of our programs. Skills USA is our most all-encompassing CTSO. There is a
What is CTSO?
Career and Technical Student Organization.
Thank you.
It would be our sports clubs if we had them, so our student organizations. Skills USA being the most encompassing one that there is. It's not specific to one program. So for example, like DECA, who will be leaving tomorrow for Anaheim, that's specific to marketing and business, where Skills USA isn't. It's any program except forestry. They don't have any forestry competition can join. So I'm going to read this so I don't mess it up. There was a good press release in the Bennington Banner. I want to thank them for the good coverage on that. We had 18 students from the CDC compete at the annual Vermont Skills USA in Burlington on April 4th and 5th. 13 students received medals for their outstanding performance, and gold medal winners have been invited to compete in the Nationals in Louisville, Kentucky at the end of June. This is after school's out. They'll compete with both secondary and post-secondary students. So gold medalist winners in the Health Knowledge Bowl team were Tiffany Bacon, Skylar Odell, Emily Pascucci, and Carly Plaisance. Criminal Justice and gold, Ben Doucette. Silver medalists for Crime Scene Investigation team were Emily Calkins from Arlington, Courtney Cole, and Cameron Turner. Bronze medalists in cosmetology were Brittany Pecor. First aid and CPR, Sam Irion, Arlington. Health Knowledge Bowl team, Chloe Crawford, Morgan Flynn, and Morgan Martucci. Those are the 13 medal winners. I do want to point out those students who received medals in both the medical and law enforcement competitions also received an $11,500 scholarship to Southern Vermont College, annually renewable for 4 years. That's a huge win for those students if they choose to go to Southern Vermont College. If combined with a good neighbor discount, et cetera, they've got There's a 4-year degree lined up for them fairly easily there if they want it. It's amazing. So these students will compete. If we get them out to Kentucky in June, we will, one way or another, to compete nationally. Generally, your health knowledge bowl team has brought back your silver and gold and bronze at the national level for many years. I think this is the first year in a long time when there's a criminal justice student potentially going. So I don't know what that competition looks like out there. I don't think we ever competed nationally in CJ or crime scene investigation. So that's new this year for us. So we're looking forward to the results of that. Also, congratulations, this was probably a repeat, but as you know, to our culinary students who won the Pro Star Invitational down in New Rochelle. They are headed off Wednesday after school to South Carolina to compete at the national level. They leave Wednesday after school and they return on Monday. Can't keep all the booking stuff in my head. Stephanie's the booking agent on all this. So we've got a lot of students going everywhere, and these are for all really good things. So as an exercise, and I wanted to bring it up here tonight, but we kind of got caught behind with policy and meetings before, is I took, and I'll try to put in the Dropbox for you, I took some time, I went through the binder that Sandy keeps of, all right, all of our field trips, all of our work-based learning placements, our CTSO, our competitions, like where do we go in the US? It didn't take me long, it took me about an hour. I plugged them in as plot points on Google Maps, and it's pretty impressive of the amount of miles that we are racking up for good reason, sending students to compete and be national, and no international yet, winners in these competitions. And that is a testament to the hard work of the instructors that they have and this board's commitment to the programming we have here at the CDC. You know, these trips are not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. They give students great skill, confidence, and in some cases certifications, and $11,000, $12,000 scholarships to colleges. I mean, those are huge opportunities for kids that aren't everywhere. So we are very proud of them. You know, I could go on for 2 or 3 hours at a board meeting about what we do here. In a month, look at our Facebook page. It's probably the most active that there is. It's open to the public, facebook.com/SVCDC. It's updated at least once a day with something that's going on here at the center in one of our programs. And we've had a lot of good press lately, both in the Banner, in the Manchester Journal, for forestry, building trades, human services. You think about it, they're all out there. And so we're doing great things here. And I think it's really important for us to remember that, when there's times that perhaps enrollment's a little bit down in the class, or enrollment's too high in a class and we need to think about hiring another instructor. I mean, those are the things that we deal with, trying to start new classes, expanding, et cetera. So the next piece of my report is that, I keep saying last week, but last week was spring break. The week before, we did have 11 Hoosick Falls students come over and interview. Kind of to keep you on that, it seems that is going to happen for next year. The New York State budget process is quite different than ours, I've learned. They don't go to vote until sometime in May, where our budget was adopted by this board back in January, our voters in March. So it is contingent on them, Hoosick Falls passing that budget, with that line item in there. I don't get any sense it's not going to happen. I mean, we've made records exchange agreements. All the process. It's not like we just talked about it. We've done a lot to do it. The kids have come here, and the instructors who they've met seem excited. And I think that if Hoosick Falls had the ability to send all the kids that wanted to come, they would. Although I don't know we have enough seats, which is a good thing. So that's kind of what I have to report on this month. I'm sure that I've missed something, but keep looking at our Facebook page. I think it's the best information going out there for us. So. Yeah.
For the benefit of the public, could you elaborate just a little bit on what Skills USA is? Because it's really the kids going off and competing against the best of the best nationwide.
Sure. So Skills USA is a national organization that they have state competitions. So all the states compete sometime in this, usually the early winter or late spring, where I'm going to pick, for example, I'll pick criminal justice. All the students in Vermont that belong to Skills USA and that want to participate go to Burlington. There's a competition set up by, in this particular case, a local law enforcement agency The students do not know what they're getting into. They have some guidelines of what they might be expected to do. The same for cosmetology, the same for building trades, whoever's involved. So there's a local competition where students from tech centers in Vermont compete with each other. Some of those competitions are very large, some are smaller than others. And they compete against each other for gold, silver, or bronze. They're awarded that after it's about a 2.5-day event. There's an awards banquet. They learn the winners that night. They travel back here to Bennington. They get back at 12 or 1 in the morning and be back at school the next morning. All of them were here, waiting to hear their names read on the announcements. That's what we're waiting for. And so they compete locally. And then if they win gold, then they are invited to come to nationals. Not every student that gets a gold medal goes to nationals or wants to go or can go. But at the national level, they're also competing against post-secondary students. So it really does up the ante a little bit for them. It's my understanding that if gold medal teams cannot go to the nationals, that it is then offered to the silver medal teams, if in fact they want to compete. Skills USA has been around for a long time. At their national convention, they usually have a world-renowned speaker. The last few years has been Mike Rowe, as you know, who hosts the most popular show is Dirty Jobs. He's been their keynote speaker, and it's a champion for career tech education and what it does for students across the nation. So it's kind of a really brief history of Skills USA and what it is. But other DECA is very similar. FBLA is similar. Our game of logging, again, I don't like the name, it's not a game, it is a certification, and they'll be going to do that very shortly and certify, I think, up to 4 levels of logging certification. So I wish they'd changed the name, but that is the official name of it. And so almost every program has an opportunity to participate in some student organization. That's my long-winded answer.
No, I understood all that. I just thought there's people, members of the public
Absolutely.
that are new, presumably, and don't know.
That's
You're all set?
End of my report, unless there are other questions.
Any questions, folks? All right, let's move on to Chairman's report. Yeah, that was quick and simple. There is nothing. So,
I'll help that easy.
we need a motion to go into executive
Oh, well, I
session.
got one thing, two
Go ahead.
things. I missed
Other
the-
business.
Yes.
Okay.
I missed the last meeting because I was sick. And I noticed that you folks changed the time back to 6. If you remember last year, I requested that we move it from 6 to 7 because I also serve on the Bennington Planning Commission. And it just so happens that they meet the first and third Mondays at 5 o'clock. And I'd appreciate if you reconsider moving it back to 7, cut the difference to 6:30 or something. Give me at least an hour and a half at the other meeting before I come to this one.
Knows what points that I made last week.
I mean, I don't think that's an undue hardship for anybody to meet at 7 or
Well-
6:30.
I don't, I don't particularly want to air our public laundry. We did have I thought, a fairly extensive conversation about when we wanted the meetings, and we certainly didn't change it from 7 to 6:30 to 6 because we just wanted to make hardships for everybody. The primary reason, and quite frankly, I never gave it as much thought as I have now that it's been brought to my attention, is we have administrators, employees, who work all day. They've probably been here since, I'm guessing, 7:30, 8 o'clock tonight, or this morning, and here they still are. They won't probably get home to 9 o'clock. If we start at 7 o'clock, they won't be home till 10 o'clock, and then it's just time to basically grab something to eat and shower and go to bed. So that was the main reason we changed it back to 6. It had been 6 for quite a few years.
Yeah, I know.
And we did move it up to try to accommodate the situation, and quite frankly, I don't think it really made that much difference, but I think it does to our employees, administrators. So I think that's why we've all, majority voted to make it 6 o'clock. It certainly wasn't because we didn't hear you, Ken, or Leanne. I know Leanne's been a strong proponent for 6:30, 7 o'clock. So.
And Ricky, if I can add.
By all
add to
means,
it.
bail me out, would you?
It's also, it's not just about the administration, though we appreciate that. We found that 7 o'clock meetings turned into, often 9 o'clock or later times that we were actually leaving, all of us, not just the administration, was leaving the building. And I think some board members would be happy to meet at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and some would like to meet at 7:30, and everything in between. And I think 6 was the compromise time that worked best for the majority, maybe not all. That was my takeaway on it. I think there was a pretty healthy discussion about it, but this is my 2 cents.
Anything else, Ken? Or anybody else?
Majority rules, this is America.
Yeah, it's not a democracy, but it's close.
The other thing is, this is the second year in a row at the bottom of Harwood Hill. I noticed they have a sign up there, carpenters wanted. And, I brought this up last year. It really blows my mind that we can't get it. I read a nice article in the paper about those 2 young boys who made that thing on their own and
Yeah,
stuff.
those plays.
We cannot get these kids released from the high school and get an opportunity to get a job, to start working. And, this is what they're training for. I mean, they spent 2-3 years working in the trades program. They've got their skills in the carpentry. There's a job out there for these youngsters, and they can't go because they have maybe, 6 weeks left of school, that this is stopping them.
Yeah. It's their education. They need to graduate.
That's what they're
The best thing
graduating.
is that the person hiring could say, we'll interview you and hold the job for you until you graduate.
Or something, but, it'd be nice for these youngsters who work so hard to, have a goal and get a job, whereas
I
if they
think
wait
that-
till June, maybe there won't be anything there.
I think that, I do remember you bringing that point up last year, and I think that's one example of an area. We do work-based learning, and I'll give you an example. It's not in building trades, it's through our manufacturing. Actually, it's a building trade student who is placed in the manufacturing field, because it's where we ended up being able to get a secure placement for him. And he's done his work-based learning there all year, and in fact, he's guaranteed employment at the end of the school year. He's worked there over his breaks, and although maybe wasn't his chosen profession, if you will, ended up being there, and they liked him. He likes the work, and he's going to be gainfully employed no matter what he wants to do after he graduates from his home high school. And so I think we can always improve outcomes for students, and there are a lot of barriers in place to scheduling is a big issue. It's not Anthony's fault. It's no one's fault. It's just what it is. So we've worked hard to increase work-based learning, and we certainly can still have room to grow on that, in all of our programs. So.
We certainly take it up in our finance education meetings.
Sure.
One of the things I was just curious when he was mentioning that, if a student can go to work, let's just say for one of the local contractors, does he have to be 18? I know in my business, my insurance company really, really frowns on anybody under an 18.
It's primarily yes. It's not a straight across the board answer, yes, but depending also on the field in which the student is, if it identifies a hazardous occupation, is it not a hazardous occupation, and those types of things. Students that are placed with us in work-based learning, are covered. Employers want that to happen, or they won't take them necessarily. So we do, they are covered. But it's as far as just being hired, at 15 or 16, it's probably not going to happen in most of our trades.
I think like this young lady mentioned here, maybe it'd be worth it for the youngsters to approach them, fill out an application, tell them that they can't start till the middle of June, and maybe it'd be interesting. Give these kids an opportunity.
Thank you for calling me young, Ken and Jessica.
Yes. Let's perhaps take that up in finance education. It's a good topic.
Good topic.
Anything else that we need to go in executive session to discuss the superintendent's evaluation and contract?
Make the motion.
Second.
I believe we will be coming out of executive session and making a motion.
Taking action.
Taking action. Thank you, Fran. Fran Kenny made the motion. Leanne seconded it. Any discussion? Seeing as none, all in favor? Let's head for a take it.
47.
Okay. Second. Motion by Ed, seconded by Fran. All in favor? Okay, we came back from executive session and discussed your contract, Mr. Lauer, and
I'd like to make a motion that we extend the superintendent's for a 3-year contract. That the language in the contract needs to be reviewed with legal before we complete the rest of the goals and actions that need to be taken under the contract.
thank you, Leanne. Second, please.
Second.
Third. All right, Leanne made the motion, Jessica made the second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your right hand, please. Unanimous. Motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Second.
Franny made the motion, Jessica made second. All in favor, raise your right hand. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.